You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20-something, and Happy New Year! It's the first episode of 2026. Given that it's the first Monday of the year, I figured it's not too late for a little rewinding and reflecting so we can prep for everything that's to come with 2026. So today's episode is to guide you through three things: wins from 2025, hard stuff or lessons learned from 2025, and how to use this reflection to look ahead to 2026 so you make goals that actually make a difference. I will say, 2025 was very unexpected in regards to all of my relationships. It's come with some really high highs and some really low lows. My business, it shifted a little. I've had more opportunities for in-person experiences come my way. I started to talking to a lot more parents of 20-somethings and involving them in my coaching partnerships. And I have a really, really big announcement that I'll be sharing towards the back half of this episode, providing you haven't already seen it on social media. But regardless of what happened in 2025, I think it's important to look back on that year before we look ahead to the next. It seems like most people are really eager to end the year and start anew the second the ball drops on New Year's Eve. Most of the time, it consists of setting one or two New Year's resolutions and not taking into account any of the things they can improve on from the previous year, only on what they want to achieve this next year. But if you don't pause for a second and acknowledge your accomplishments and your pitfalls, then one, you're not going to be able to learn from your mistakes, so they will keep repeating themselves. And two, you're not going to stay motivated towards what's next because you don't celebrate the wins when they happen. You take them for granted, brush them off like it was no biggie, when it was something you used to only dream about, and it actually happened. The example for me being that when I was awarded Charlotte's 30 under 30, I was like, it's cool and all, but is it really that big of a deal? And my boyfriend forced me to celebrate. I'm very grateful he had me do so, but I know I even told him this award isn't worth popping off over. The real quote-unquote award would be landing something like a TED Talk or Forbes 30 under 30. I minimized my accomplishment, something I know we are all guilty of doing as we are in the pursuit of achieving what's next or know that there's something bigger. So yes, part of reflecting is celebrating your freaking accomplishments. And the other part is taking accountability for what didn't go so well this last year. Which is why I wanted to make sure I popped in as your audio adulting coach before we get too far into January or too far into 2026, and give you this chance to reflect along with me, and then we can focus on what's next. For starters, let's look at the highlights and wins of this year. For me, that consists of standing up for myself when I'm feeling disrespected, starting and growing my relationship with Ryan, taking an improv course, going on a vacation for the first time in 3 years, conducting 3 parent workshops, getting paid to speak at 2 different universities, becoming a skill pop teacher, seeing my business coach and business community in person twice in New York City, being the maid of honor at my sister's wedding and a bridesmaid in my best friend's, and not missing a single Monday for this podcast. There were a lot of good things that happened this year. It was filled with a ton of growth and putting myself in different rooms to meet different people. I know I headed into 2025 really wanting a relationship. I know I wanted more public speaking events, and that showed itself between paid and unpaid ones. And I knew I was going to be in 2 weddings and see my business coach twice. What I didn't know was the value of changing my marketing to reach the parent of 20-somethings who would then send their kid to me. I didn't know that my relationship would come with the guy I went on a first date with on January 1st. I didn't know I would become a skill pop teacher, which pays me to teach my workshops. Those were such good, exciting things that were a mix of what I planned for and didn't plan for, but I'm so happy they all happened. And I would say Charlotte 30 Under 30 is something I didn't plan for. Something I hoped for. I always hoped for a local recognition, and now I want something even bigger. So maybe for you, you got a job, a promotion, made a new friend, got into a relationship, traveled somewhere cool, was recognized for your hard work, received an award, ran a race you prepared for, hit a PR at the gym, was consistent in your routine throughout the year. Literally anything you want to recognize that you did well or you're proud of yourself for doing, trying, and accomplishing over the last year, regardless of what your New Year's resolution was, you need to celebrate it. Because remember, we're not measuring how well or not well you did something, just that you went after the damn thing. I'd even recommend you pause this episode and answer for yourself, what are at least 3 things you're really proud of from 2025? Because once you do that, we can go into the most avoided part of New Year's resolutions. The downfalls, the challenges, the unexpected hardships. I know for me, there are plenty of major ones. I didn't know I would quit at 45 because of all of the toxicity from those owners. I didn't know my best friend throughout all of 2024 would disappear from my life entirely by the end of 2025. If I really reflected back, then it was about 75% through the year when I realized she wasn't in my life anymore. And both of those situations caused me a ton of stress and unhappiness for months leading up to those final goodbyes. And it's a shame that they happened. But I know I'm better off for sure without the owners of F45 in my life because god damn they were awful and should not be owners of any business, let alone a people-oriented one. And while I wish nothing changed within my friendship, it did. And I feel like I did everything I could to save it, but the truth was, it was never going to be saved. It's sad. I hate losing relationships. And I realize I give people so many chances to treat me better. And it takes me a really, really long time to accept that I don't deserve this, that it's not my fault, and that it's time to walk away. I don't regret this friendship from happening in any way and wish her no ill will. It taught me a lot and it connected me with some pretty cool people. But if I had it my way, I would wish for none of the falling out to have happened, where we could go on all the double dates possible since our boyfriends got along, where we could have all the girls' trips and game nights, where we could support each other's goals. But alas, it is a friendship that has run through its cycle and is no longer in existence, and that sucks. It's something that I didn't know was going to happen this year. So if you're reflecting alongside of me and are also realizing that you began this year with someone you are not ending this year with, then I want you to know that you're allowed to be upset. These things suck. I've done all sorts of episodes on breaking up with jobs and friends and boyfriends and girlfriends and everyone, so just scroll back and re-listen because they never get any easier. But I think those are probably my 2 lowest moments of this year. Lowest and unexpected. Which really isn't too bad to say. I mean, yes, they caused major shifts to my income, my social plans, and my happiness. But you always know it was a good decision when you immediately feel relieved after it all concludes. Where my skin clears, I shed a few pounds, literally because the weight of the stress is gone. And the best part is that I can recognize the level of growth I've had between this best friend experience and the last one, and how my entire world doesn't feel rocked. In fact, I feel better because I finally stopped fighting the resistance that has been there all freaking year. Now, I don't hate her for her decisions and actions, but it's not to say I'm not disappointed. It came to an end. But you know what they say? Reason, season, or lifetime. And even the people you think are the 4 lifers are only for a tiny segment of your life. Overall, 2025 was not a bad year for me, and I like that I can look back and see what's come from the high highs and the low lows. Do I wish I made more money in my business? Yes. Do I wish I had more speaking opportunities? Also yes. But those are things I get to reflect on what I did or didn't do in order to grow in those areas as well. And hopefully you've reflected on some moments for yourself too. Maybe you had an unexpected relationship end, or lost your job, or made a foolish purchase, or accrued more credit card debt, or made a terrible choice in moving to a new city, or made some giant mistake at work that is haunting you to this day. Shit happens. And you're disconnected from reality if you think none the wiser. And it's okay that shit happens. It's knowing the role you played and how you can strive for a different outcome next time that matters the most. Which means it's time to look ahead to what's next. What happened this last year that you would love to replicate or grow? What would you want to do differently so outcomes don't repeat themselves? And what are you excited about? For me, I would love to replicate and grow my parent marketing. It seems to be doing so many favors for me, so I want to make an effort towards speaking to more parents of 20-somethings, which goes hand in hand with growing my public speaking career. In 2025, I spoke at UNCC, Wingate University, Charlotte Networking Knowledge, Skill Pop, virtually to my own audiences, Speakeasy, and Speaker League. I know my speaker circle is growing as I meet more and more public speakers and learn from them and hear about more opportunities. And looking ahead, I have my biggest speaking engagement yet, where I will be giving my first ever TEDx Talk at the end of March. An opportunity that I know is going to launch my speaking career and coaching business to the next level. I want to make $80K in my business this year, across all streams of income, and have a very consistent influx of new clients and renewing ones. I know in terms of my relationships, I want to nurture my existing Charlotte friendships with Shanna, Courtney, Christine, Emily, and Mandy, and maybe make another new friend that I connect with. I know that I want to nurture my romantic relationship with Ryan, move in together, have conversations that deepen our connection and create harmony in our relationship, and make sure that I'm supporting his dreams and goals as much as he already supports mine. I want to go on trips this year. I already have Niagara Falls booked with my family, and I'm scheduled to go back to experience camps for the 3rd year. I also want to plan a hiking trip with my best friend Katie and our partners, and I want to throw in another vacation to the mix, whatever it may be. I'm telling you all of my goals and what I want to tweak so I can grow to hopefully spark some ideas in your own mind, because you need to be doing this work too. Plus, I think it's fun to reflect and think ahead, and it's probably why I'm a coach. And I also think it's fun for you to get some insight into what goes on in my life from the thinking ahead aspect. And I want you to know that your goals can be a mix of things that are already planned and things that you want to come to fruition. They should feel doable and stretchy so you can collect those wins along the way, but also not all doable because you need to have a challenge that's going to strengthen your grit and resilience, which has tremendous carryover to every part of your life. And because you can't move forward in your life if you don't learn from past mistakes, that begins with recognizing what those were so you can correct faulty patterns to prevent history from repeating itself. It's something I do a lot with my clients. When I know of an experience that didn't go so well and I see the potential for it to reoccur, like one of my college student clients he had a big fall off last winter. He had a really long winter break and just fell off. And then he began working with me in the summer. So this winter, since we're still working together, I'm able to have multiple conversations with him around what happened last year, what's different this year, and what does he need to make sure he does so he doesn't fall off again. And now he can head into this next semester on a far better note than this time last year. You need to do that too. What do you need to change or make sure of? What do you need to put in place so that you don't repeat your previous mishaps? But now that we've covered what didn't go so well last year and what did and what we can change for 2026, it's time to let yourself get excited about all that's to come. I know for me, that's my TEDx talk. I'm so excited and can't wait to achieve this bucket list item. I'm excited for what will come my way once I hit that stage and the video goes live. I want it to get 1.2 million views. You guys already know I will definitely be telling you all about it throughout my journey and once it is released so you can go watch it and rewatch it and rewatch it so you help me reach my goal. I know in my personal life, I'm excited to grow with Ryan. We are planning to move in together come February. At least that's the current plan, as I'm planning this episode out towards the end of November. And I know living with a boy will come with a whole slew of learning experiences. Living with someone in general, honestly, because I've spent the last 4 years living all alone. And it's an adjustment that I know our relationship can handle. But hey, if you're listening and you live with your partner, I am all for unsolicited advice to make this transition as easy as possible. The bottom line is, let yourself get excited for this next year. New Year's always presents itself as a fresh start, a do-over from the trials and tribulations of years past. And being in your 20s, you already know that every year is going to come with some kind of lesson to learn. So just get ready to roll with the punches and grow from each of your experiences. At the end of the day, it's asking yourself, how can I make this year different? What do I hope to achieve by the end so that I can look back and feel good about how my 2026 went? And share your answers with someone, a friend, your mom, even me. I'd love to hear what you're working towards this year so I can help you hold that vision for yourself. After all, that's a large part of what working with a coach is for. And my email is always in the show notes for you to access. So if you're working on creating your goals or your New Year's resolutions for 2026, I want to help you out a little bit. And the way I like to think about them is by putting them in different categories like career, friendships, dating, and fun. And then make a list in each of those buckets based on things that are stretchy, that are already in the queue, and that are doable. If you've already made your list, then maybe something I said either validated or inspired you to set out on your next growth journey on this floating rock through space. But really, what are some things you want to feel, see, or achieve by December 31st, 2026? It feels very far away, but the year always flies by and it'll be here before you know it. So on that note, this does conclude the first episode of 2026 for How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, learned something new, were inspired to reflect and look ahead for what's next, then please share this episode, post it to your story, send it to a friend. Just please do something to help me expand my reach. I know it wasn't one of the goals I mentioned, but I would love for the numbers of listeners to grow and bring this podcast to new heights. And I can't do that work without you. As always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.